네, 여러분 안녕하십니까?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
디지털 리더들의 소통회자
The 2021 Seoul Smart Week Digital Leaders Communication Forum is underway from October 12th to 19th under the theme of the advent of a contactless society and the future ahead.
오늘은 2021 서울 스마트 시티 리더스 포럼으로 인사를 드리고
Now, today we are here for the 2021 Seoul Smart Leaders Forum, which is a part of the Seoul Smart Week, and I would like to welcome you all, both online and offline. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am Lee Seung-hee, the MC for the program today. Now, it is a great pleasure to welcome everyone, both online and offline. Thank you very much for the broad participation, and I do hope that this will be a productive session for all those who are participating. Now, at this Seoul Smart City Leaders Forum, we have two sessions. We have the city session and the special session, and allow me to briefly introduce the program. Now, in the first session, in the city session, we will be taking stock of how we have been faring against COVID-19 for the past 1 year and 9 months as we prepare for the transition to live with COVID. We will look back to the time of how we have especially utilized smart technology to fight off the COVID infection. And then in the special session, there's going to be a special talk followed by a metaverse roundtable to discuss the digitalized that has been accelerating since COVID-19 and also how we can prepare for the future for the cities and the businesses as well as the citizens, especially under the fourth industrial revolution. And then we will be discussing the metaverse, which is an online convergence technology that has been gaining a lot of attention recently. And we will be having a conference room in the metaverse. So we would be inviting the speakers of this Smart City Week to discuss the topics of the future city. And we would like to invite you all to this new journey. And as we begin the forum, I would just like to make a request to the participants as well as the speakers. Now, given that this is being held virtually, please make sure that you check your connection for the video as well as the audio network. Now, we will be beginning the first session, which is the city session. And before that, let us view a video under this theme.
코로나19 팬데믹, 겪어보지 못한 사상 초유의 재난, 포기해야 하고 제한받고 불편한 감염병 시대의 일상은 매우 낯설고 가혹했습니다. 그런데 길기만 한 시간들은 우리 사회에 새로운 전환을 가져오고 있습니다. 정부와 기업의 디지털 전환을 크게 앞당기는 기폭제가 되고 있습니다. 코로나가 바꾸어 놓은 세상, 무엇을 지키고 무엇을 뒤로해야 더 좋은 미래로 향하게 될까? 디지털 세계는 목적지가 아닌 여정, 더 나은 미래로 나아가기 위해 스마트 서울이 항상 여러분의 곁에 플랫폼이 되겠습니다.
Thank you very much for that. Now, for this forum, we would be taking a step forward to a better tomorrow, and I hope that this will also be useful and informative for all the participants. And now with that, we will be beginning the first session of this Smart City Leaders Forum, the cities session, under the theme of New Challenge in the Pandemic Era, Smart Pandemic Control. We would be listening to presentations to be followed by a panel discussion. Allow me to introduce the speakers in the city session. So we have online connection by Lim Chin-hwa from the Singapore Technology Agency, the Smart Nation Platform Solution Director General. Thank you very much.
네, 감사합니다.
Then we also have a speaker from Tel Aviv, Israel. We have Hajit Nali Joseph, who is the Director of Strategy and Planning from Yafo, Tel Aviv. Thank you very much for your connection. And then we also will be hearing from Jin Hong, who is the Vice Mayor of LA in charge of budget and innovation. But then because of the time difference, we will be listening to the pre-recorded presentation. And then now in the city session, we also have invited special guest also to be joining us online, who is Cristina Garado, the Director of the Innovation Strategy of the Antiverti of Barcelona, Spain. And it is the person who is also in charge of the Smart City World Expo Congress, which is a well-known conference to us all. And we would also be having a live discussion at the end of all the presentations. Now then, allow me to also introduce those who are here with us in the studio. First, we have someone from the Smart City Committee of the Seoul Metropolitan City, Jung-hoon Lee, who is also an expert in smart cities. And actually, Mr. Lee joined us as a speaker last year, but now this year we have him as the chairperson, the moderator of the discussion, so we look forward to his moderation. And last but not least, we have Kang Ji-hyun, who is the Smart City Officer of the Seoul Metropolitan Government. Thank you very much for your time. We actually have Director General Park Jong-soo of Seoul, who is in charge of the Smart City Bureau, to be delivering the presentation, but because of urgent matters, he was not able to join us for the live discussion. But we have Mr. Kang Ji-hyun on his behalf to be taking part in the panel discussion. Once again, thank you very much. And I have just introduced the speakers as well as the participants. And now, at such a meaningful gathering, we should also have the welcome remarks. So we have the Mayor, Oh Se-hoon, to deliver the welcoming remarks and to kickstart the forum.
Hello, I'm Seun Oh, Mayor of Seoul. I sincerely welcome all of you who are joining the 2021 Seoul Smart City Leaders Forum, an online forum for collective intelligence to open the door to the future smart city. In addition, I would like to express my gratitude to everyone who will be sharing best practices, especially Professor Jung-hoon Lee of Yonsei University, speakers from the city of Los Angeles, Tel Aviv, Singapore, and panelists from Spain for sharing and communication best practices for responding to COVID-19. Due to the fourth industrial revolution and the COVID-19 pandemic, the world is truly in the midst of turbulence of change. With the acceleration of digitalization and contact-free everyday life, the paradigm of city administration and our daily life are being reorganized based on smart technology. Aligned with the changing trend, the Seoul Metropolitan Government is integrating digital technology into various policies and administrative fields like transportation, safety, education, and quarantine by fusing Seoul's excellent smart city infrastructure with private cutting-edge smart technology. In fact, since 2008, long before the COVID-19, I have been paying attention to the value of digital in city administration and the IT capabilities of Seoul. In 2008, we held the Global E-Government Mayors Forum in presence of mayors from 33 cities and launched WeGo, the Global E-Government Council, in 2010, and have shared IT-based efficiency management know-how with the world cities and drawing their participation. And today, 10 years later, through the Seoul Smart City Leaders Forum, once again, we would like to envision the future smart city of Seoul by sharing and communicating knowledge and technical know-how with experts from all around the world. If all of you contemplate and debate with us, Seoul will take a leap forward as a world-leading sustainable smart city by embracing the Seoul Vision 2030 Smart City Strategy, which is the blueprint for the future of Seoul. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We see that the mayor is working hard to turn Seoul into a future smart city. Thank you very much. And with that, we will be kicking off the presentations. Now, we will first listen to the case studies. The first of which is of Seoul, to be delivered by Director General Park Jong-soo of the Smart City Policy Bureau of Seoul.
안녕하십니까? 서울시에서 스마트 도시
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
박종수입니다.
I am Park Jong-soo,
오늘 주제가
in charge of the
비대면
Smart
시대에
City affairs
앞당겨진
in Seoul.
미래인데요.
Now, today,
코로나
the
팬데믹
topic
위기를
is the
거치면서
advent of a contactless
시민들의
society and the future
생활
ahead.
방식이
Now, as we
엄청나게
went
변화했습니다.
through the COVID-19 pandemic, I see that
비대면 회의,
citizens' lives have
재택근무,
changed
이런 것들이
dramatically.
일상화되면서
So working from home or
상당
online
기간이
meetings
걸려야
have
우리라고
become the
예상했던
norm,
미래가
meaning that what we had
우리에게
thought
훅 지금
to be
들어오는
a
겁니다.
far-fetched future has all of a sudden
가상
become a reality.
공간들에 대한 여러
Also
가지
in
개념들이
the virtual reality, so also in the virtual world, we see that the concept of space is changing, especially the metaverse, which is being led by the millennials, is one good example. So as we see how the millennials are active in the metaverse, also shows that the city of Seoul also has to faithfully follow in their footsteps. Now, under the COVID-19, it gave us the challenge of crisis management in a city. So the different systems of a city to reduce the activities of the citizens and also to control the infection through swift tracing and testing, and also the different healthcare system to be provided, and the work from home or the self-quarantine system for the at-risk population. So all these different systems need to be in a city. In other words, we need to turn into a smart city that can provide all these different systems and infrastructure. Then what does it mean to be a smart city? Well, I believe that a smart city is not like the Coruscant or the empirical city in Star Wars, or like, for example, the galactic city like Trantor, proposed by Isaac Asimov decades ago. So I used to actually believe that it would be something like that. But then today I see that a smart city is the kind of city that can most efficiently address citizens' needs, equipped with advanced technology, and utilizing such technology to swiftly and efficiently solve the issues of a city. So that, I believe, would be the definition of a smart city. Now, for the city of Seoul, as we try to turn ourselves into a smart city, there are a few key infrastructure, and that is the technological infrastructure, human infrastructure, and sustainability. Now, first, let me introduce the technology infrastructure of smart city for Seoul. Now, first is the SNet project. Now, Seoul has about 4,500 kilometers long broadband network, and this will allow our services of IoT and the network projects. So especially in the traditional markets and also welfare facilities, we have the Wi-Fi 6, which is much faster and much more secure than the existing public Wi-Fi. And we intend to broaden this network. And also at the same time, by utilizing such public network, we can also provide information about the public transport, or also control the fine dust problem, and provide services to the disadvantaged. So we are also trying to expand our public services based on the SNet. Next is the S-Dot service. Now in the city there are 1,100 sensors installed throughout Seoul, collecting data on fine dust and air quality, etc. And we also disclose the information to the citizens. The data that has been collected would also go through accurate analysis to also provide real-time information about the discomfort level or the thermal level to the citizens.
S맵 사업입니다.
Next is the
항공 촬영
SMAP
등을 통해
project.
수집된 지도를
Now through
3D
aerial
도시로
view,
변환하는 사업입니다.
we collect the data and
3D
then turn
기반
this into
도시
a
공간
3D
서비스를
city.
제공하고
So based on the
효율적인
3D,
도시를
we
관리할
provide information
효율적으로
about the
도시를
city
관리할 수 있는 방안을
to
마련합니다.
help efficient
우선
management and
영상을
governance
한번
of the cities.
보시겠습니다.
Now first let me show you a video.
영상에서 보신 바와 같이 서울시
So as you
전역을
could see on the
사이버
video,
공간 3D로 복제한
have
쌍둥이
the
도시가
digital
구축되어 있습니다.
replication of Seoul
건물에서부터
utilizing the data.
골목길,
So we have the
거리
digital
뷰,
twin of Seoul.
500여 종의
So for
문화재
example,
등에
the
대한 3D
alleys and
구역과
also
함께
over
여기에
500 cultural
스토리와
relics
역사를 입혀서
have been digitized. And then
소중한
we also
관광자원으로
place
널리
our
활용할
stories.
필요가 있다고 생각합니다.
And I believe that by doing so, we can also utilize them and turn them into precious tourism resources.
다음으로 코로나 시대 도시의 위기 관리와 시민들을 위한 서울시의
Now, next is about
스마트
how,
대응
in the
전략을
era of
소개합니다.
COVID-19, the Seoul city has been addressing this crisis in order to keep the city safe for everyone.
혁신적인
Now, under
노력은
the unprecedented
필수적이었습니다.
crisis, utilizing ICT
코로나
was
방역
essential
시스템은
in addressing and
검사 확진
overcoming the
과정,
crisis.
역학 추적 과정,
Now,
치료
the
격리
COVID-19
과정이라는
control, this
3T로
involved the
요약할 수가
3T policy, testing,
감염자의
tracing, and
감염
treating.
경로, 이동
We needed to analyze
추가
the
확산 방지에
movements
매우 중요합니다. 서울시는
and trace the
확진자
contacts
스마트폰,
of the
신용카드 정보, CCTV,
infected, and this proved instrumental in controlling the infections. And also utilizing the various data and information, for example, credit card and also the health information, we were able to trace the movements and the contacts of the patient, and through such data, we were also able to
감염 위험도가 높은
prevent
접촉자들
further
관리도
infections.
매우 중요합니다.
It was also very important
이들이 격리
to
기간
manage
동안
the contacts
우울감에서 벗어날 수
of
있는 여러 가지
the
시책도 함께
infected,
추진합니다.
and we also needed to provide support so that
일정
when
거리
these
이상
contacts had to
격리장소에서
go into
떨어진 경우
self-quarantine, then they
전담
would not
공무원에
feel depressed.
알려주는 앱을 마련해서
We also
시행하고
created an
있고
app
이 앱을 통해서
to let
격리자가
the
건강 상태를 입력하면
public
전담
servants
공무원에게 자동
know
통보되어
whether the
격리자의 건강과
those in
불편 사항을
self-quarantine
살려줄 수 있는
were veering too
서비스도
far
하고 있습니다.
away from their location. And we also
다음으로
provided the
코로나
function
진단과
for those in
백신 접종
self-quarantine
관리에서
to self-diagnose their health status.
제공한 스마트 정책
Next
시스템들을
is the
소개합니다.
list. I would like to
물론
explain about the smart policies
QR 코드
under
기반의
the
전자
COVID-19. Of course,
출입
the central
백신
government
접종량,
also
자녀
came up
백신
with
예약
the
예비까지
QR
여러 가지
code-based
다양한 서비스들을
visitors
플랫폼
log
기업과 협업하여
and also
실시간으로
other types of
제공한 바 있습니다.
ICT-based services working together with the platform companies.
서울시는 여기에 더해서
Now, going beyond
코로나19
that,
검사를 받으려 하는 시민들이
the city of Seoul,
긴 대기 시간으로
for
인한
those who
불편함을
wish
겪는 일이
to
없도록
get tested for
검사소에
COVID-19, we
실시간
wanted to
환자도를
prevent long
알려주는
queues
스마트
for the
서울 맵을
citizens,
운영하고
and we
있습니다.
came up with a smart
이
Seoul
맵은
map
온라인
that let you
지도를
know
통해서
about the congestion at
혼잡도뿐만이
each
아니라
screening site.
예상 대기 시간도
So it
함께
showed you
알려주는
not
기능을 하고
only
있습니다.
the congestion, but also the expected
아울러
waiting time.
코로나19 백신
to get
접종
tested.
증명서를
And then
안전하게 보관할 수 있는
we also came up
블록체인
with
기반의
a function
비대면 공용
which is a
서비스인
blockchain-based
서울 디지털
non-contact
서울 지갑도 함께
public
선보입니다.
service app, which is the
민원인이
digital Seoul wallet,
공공기관을
where you
방문해
can also
동의
keep
서류가
your
보관된
vaccination
이전
certificate
관행을 깨고
safely.
비대면 공공
So
서비스 창구로에
instead of
과감한 전화와
having to
혁신을
go
이룬
to
사례로
the
설명드릴 수
citizens'
있겠습니다.
offices in order to get the services, we allowed this type of app so that
우리 시민의
the
삶을
citizens
확
will be able
바꿔놓았습니다.
to get their
정부도
civic
11월부터
certificate
위드
or
코로나
services
시대를
without
준비하고
having
있습니다.
to visit the offline offices.
코로나의 공전
So as
속에서
the world
일상으로
continues to
돌아가는
change
위드
under
코로나 시대는
COVID-19,
과거의
we are
행위는
also
절대
preparing
아닐 것입니다.
for the future.
새로운
And we believe
normal,
that the post-COVID
new
world
normal 세대를
is not going to be
말합니다.
simply returning to
방역뿐만이
the
아니라
pre-COVID era.
복지,
This is
고용,
about going
교육,
into a new
경제
normal,
등
not only
사회
for the
전반에 걸쳐
infection
위드
control,
코로나
but also
시대를
welfare, education,
맞이하는
and
세계를
indeed in all areas of our
서둘러
society,
마련하도록
we have to
하겠습니다.
prepare for the new normal,
급격한
where
디지털로
things are
인해서
going to be different from the past.
영역별로, 계층별로 디지털 격차가
For the
발생하는 것에
different
대비하는
classes,
것이
for the different
서울시를
groups,
비롯한
we also need
세계
to make sure
모든
that there is
도시들이
not going to be a digital
시급히 해결해야
divide.
될
And I believe that
현안이라고
that is a
말씀드릴 수
homework and
있겠습니다.
challenge incumbent not only to solve, but to all these cities around the world today.
서울시는 디지털 전환에 대비하여 디지털 격차를
To
없애고
prepare for the digital
새로운 디지털
transformation,
생태계를
we will
구축하는
continue
일에
to
정책
eliminate the
투자를
digital divide
집중합니다.
and will
우선
continue to build
디지털
up the
격차
digital
해소를
literacy.
위해서
First of all,
다양한 시니어
in order
교육
to
프로그램을
reduce the digital
운영합니다.
divide, we are running a number
어르신들에게
of
스마트폰
training
장비를
courses for the
도움을
elderly.
통해서
By providing
디지털
these smart
접근성을
devices
강화하고
to the
교육,
elderly citizens,
로봇, 리쿠 등을
we will reduce
활용해서
the digital
디지털
divide, and
로노케어
also
전문가 어디나
we use Liku, which is a digital
현장에
robot
가서
teacher,
1대1 매칭 교육을
and
실시합니다.
utilizing this
또한
robot, we can
키오스크
provide
체험존을
one-to-one
운영하여
training
디지털
wherever
역량
it is
교육이
needed.
확대되도록
And we
노력하고
also are
있습니다.
providing training utilizing
MZ세대를 위한
kiosks
새로운
so that they will be
디지털
able
신뢰
to
구축도
receive the
함께
training in a
추진합니다.
more efficient manner.
내년부터 26년까지 단계적으로
And also,
서울시 자체적인 메타 플랫폼을
we
구축해
are
나가고
building
이례적인
a
콘텐츠
metaverse
개발보다는
to
메타버스
be
생태계
completed by
구축에
next year.
집중할
And
계획입니다.
it is not going to be a
특히
one-off event
메타버스
because we
이용률이
will
높은
be
10대
working to
청소년의
build up
공부
a
수준을
metaverse
향상하기
ecosystem,
위해서
and especially
실감형
for
교육
the
및 멘토링이
teenagers
가능한
who are
서울로
the most active users
메타플레스
of the
구축을
metaverse.
서둘러
We would
생각입니다.
also build up a Seoul metaverse
위드 코로나 시대에는
training
워라밸뿐만이 아니라
and
컬러감이
program
더 중요하다고
targeting
합니다.
the teenagers.
방역과 일상의
Now they
균형입니다.
say that
코로나
under
종식이
the
아닌
COVID-19 and
코로나와
also in the
함께
with COVID,
어떻게
what is
살아갈
going to
것인지를
be
궁리하고
important is to
시민들의
have a
삶의 양식을
balance
바꾸고
between our
새로운
everyday
방식으로
life and the infection
시민
control.
생활을 회복하는
So we
뉴노멀
need
시대의
to
전환을 위해서
transition
서울시와
well into the new normal where we will be
단체들이
able to
노력하도록
revive
하겠습니다.
our everyday life while keeping everyone
감사합니다.
healthy. And we will continue to work towards that goal. Thank you very much.
네, 고맙습니다.
Thank you very much for the presentation. So we have just heard about the first case study, which is about Seoul. So once again, I would like to thank Director General Park for the excellent presentation.
Next, let's move on to the second presentation, which is by Lim Chin-hwa, Senior Director of Smart Nation Platform Solutions of Government Technology Agency from Singapore. So he's going to talk about Singapore's journey towards digitalization. So if you're ready, please go ahead.
네, 국장님, 저희 소리가 들리지 않습니다.
So Mr. Lim
혹시
Chin-ha, we
데스크
do not
버튼을
hear you. Can you unmute yourself?
준비되셨을까요?
Are you ready?
Hello, everyone. It's my privilege to share with you Singapore's journey in the smart city space. I'm Chin. I'm the Senior Director for the Smart Nation Platform Solutions from the Government Technology Agency, Singapore. I'll start off by sharing a quote from our Prime Minister, which sparked off the Smart Nation project in 24th November 2014. The vision is essentially one of seeing how citizens' daily living using technology could unite the community to enable connection between one another, and we can then forge a future to create the possibilities that we can imagine for ourselves. Paraphrase from the Prime Minister's speech. There are a few areas that characterize a smart city. One that is using technology in a coherent and integrated way, where networks of different smart devices and sensors pull together the data for situational awareness, and a community that's connected by this technology for each to be able to communicate and connect. What also undergirds and underpins all this is the government building the infrastructure and framework for trusted systems so that there is a cultural experimentation in a city-state like Singapore. We have 8 strategic national projects. The national projects are deemed to be transformative for the whole country, and we build them according to the infrastructure, the improvement to citizens' lives, and how the citizens and business connect with the government. They are the National Digital Identity, e-payments, Codex, which is re-engineering government reusable code, and the Smart Nation Sensor Platform, the Smart Urban Mobility, a Smart Sustainable Pongo, which is a specific town, and then from end-to-end digital connection using Live SG and Go Business to engage with the citizens. To support this, one of the major transformative elements within the government is one of not just outsourcing what the government needs, but to co-source. We are looking from not just relying on external capability, we also want to enable internal capability. From services to products, from siloed infrastructure to platforms, where we were once agency-centric, moving towards citizen-centric, where agencies were seen as a provider, we are now looking to partner, and from looking at enterprise IT solutions into smart systems. These are transformative from the standpoint that it allows us to change fundamentally how we look at providing services for the citizens. One of the strategic national projects is our sensor platform, which gives us strategic 360 view of what's happening throughout different parts of the country by collecting data sets from static platforms like lampposts, buildings and infrastructure, and data that we collect from mobile platforms like robots and drones, as well as the ability to do data exchange between governments and industries and citizens. And from this context, we are able to get the necessary data for us to influence how we get the insights to determine the policies. The key to the smart nation or smart city is how we get the data and collect it from our physical environment, and translating that collection of that data so that we contextualize it, analyzing it, synthesizing it for actionable insights. And with that insights, we are then taking the necessary actions to act. An example of a specific digital district that is being built from the ground up is called the Punggol Digital District. There, the goal was to take 50 hectares of land where we are looking at creating 28,000 jobs with 12,000 students embedded within the district, where work, living, and play becomes a natural extension of the community. So in this first smart town, it is essentially linking the district with the right technology and managing it at the national development deployment point of view, and is a demonstration as a smart nation project where the different aspects of smart city technology programs can be brought into trial. In the future Singapore, we can realize that within these different aspects, areas of sustainability, livability, mobility can be tested. It will be similar to the different showcases sites that are already available worldwide, and we have the ambition to look at how this district and envisage this district to showcase a lot of the smart city technology. We developed an open digital platform to manage this district. It covers safety and security using video analytics, integration into the district systems like elevator systems, system optimization into the chillers, HVAC for sustainability, integrating also using geospatial information in the surrounding areas so that we have a sense of what's happening, as well as using high fidelity building information model to visualize the district. What is also useful is with this platform, we are looking at the human robotic interaction that can be served using the information from the district, how it can automatically call for the lifts, open the doors, and manage the lighting as needed. As we ingest a lot of this data from the district, we overlay them to sense-make and automate a lot of the decision making. And in that regard, we have established and brought together different data sets from the transport, from the weather, from flood sensors, and crowded density data to give us a sense of what's happening around the region in that district so that we can manage the different systems that drive the district all the way from energy to robotic delivery systems and simulation for shades. Fundamentally, when we are looking at engineering the smart nation, we are looking at system of systems, and the open digital platform at this district will be able to allow us to integrate the physical and digital infrastructure. And in that sense, allow us also to interoperate and look at how we can expand beyond the district. So essentially, the Smart Nation sensor platform was built to enable interoperability at the national level for whole of government for the Smart Nation. How does this then translate to the public and the agencies that we support? First, with the sensor information and collecting the data, we are making data-driven decisions. This allows us to improve efficiency and productivity in the insights, from the insights that we get, and bringing convenience to the citizens. And one of the important aspects is how do we uplift the citizens and personalize the public services for the citizens. Hand in hand with the data collection is the AI strategy so that we can establish Singapore as a global hub for testing and embedding different AI solutions to enable quality of life in an urban environment. The Helix partnership consists of government, research community, and industry in supporting the government application in machine learning, natural language processing, computer vision, and IoT and robots. This national system of using AI ought to be a human-centric one, and we identify projects that we see are impactful for the social and economic benefits to citizens. And they range from transport to estate management, to healthcare, to education, safety, and security. Example where we use AI for sustainability is the 30 by 30 vision. Singapore, as a smaller country, needs to ensure that the space that we use and looking at how we can use that space to meet our nutritional needs locally. And this will include fruit, vegetables, fish, and poultry. And one of the challenges in the fish farm that we have is that fish larvae takes a lot of effort to feed them, especially the plankton called rotifers, every few hours. And it's this constant need to feed them and supply this rotifer that we have to examine the supply on a daily basis. A trained technician will take about 40 minutes each day to manually examine the samples through a microscope. However, we have worked with the food agency to deploy AI mobile application to automate the inspection process by uploading the pictures taken of the rotifer samples, and then the application can classify the healthiness of these rotifers and reduce the inspection for 40 minutes to 1 minute. So AI plays an important role in producing the necessary impact. The government also, in the context of the COVID, had been looking into ways of using data and AI to fast track some of the technologies to protect the citizens. And contact tracing tools like Trace Together and Safe Entry, using the verified information of citizens and businesses like WhatsApp and Go Business portal, supporting the operations through AI temperature scanners. We are able to reduce the average time from quarantine from cases in 4 days to less than 2 days. This allows us to then fast track and identify those citizens who may be impacted by the COVID situation. Some examples of the AI-driven COVID solution included thermal scanners, as well as gantry, which allows easy access for those who meet the COVID criteria. So as we scale, it is about taking advantage of the fact that we can collect and analyze and share data. And the government data architecture has reduced how we share data between governments. And these data that is collated are scrubbed and cleaned and ensure that they do not have to worry if they have used it and they have to delete it, that there's always a base available. The sensor platform solution continually provides the real-time data for the situational awareness for the city. And these components are reusable and scalable, allowing different government agencies to build their application on top of the technology stack. So what's next essentially for the sensors, data, and AI is that we will provide and enable the augmented analytics required for city planning, the use of smart devices, autonomy for robots, and facility management. As we move towards more real-time AI services, technology like edge compute will become critical as we move to predictive and actionable real-time critical decision-making. And this will then empower the smart homes, the smart buildings, and the smart districts. So improving citizens' quality of life is always the end goal. And then we work with different agencies to ensure through the use of the sensors, the machine learning and AI technology, and the implementation both of the technology as well as the policy impacts the municipal, the citizens who lives in their home, the mobility of the citizens, and their safety and security and economic uplift are always on top of our agenda. So with this, I end my presentation. You can reach out through the QR code to discover more and the details of the different projects. Thank you.
네, 고맙습니다. 소중한 경험을
Thank you very much for sharing your valuable experience. Thank you for joining us online, real time, and sharing your presentation.
Thank you very much. And now we would be inviting Hajinali Joseph from Tel Aviv. And now she is also here with us online, real time. So she will tell us about the case of Yaffo municipality. So now please go ahead.
Hello, everybody. Before I start, I would like to thank Smart City Week for hosting and organizing this special event and for inviting Tel Aviv Yaffo to speak and present. I would also like to thank all the speakers and attendants who joined us today. The COVID pandemic has make worse and long-standing inequalities in cities and countries across the world, leading decision makers to act quickly and respond to innovative ways to the crisis. Tel Aviv, Yafo, and Israel have demonstrated how technology plays a key role in fighting and overcoming COVID-19, using existing digital platforms, improving them, and developing new ones. So, in spite of the terrible effect of the COVID, the pandemic has, in a way, actually prepared us to respond to the global risk and triads. Technology enables us to develop local and national strategies more quickly through collaboration and engagement with professionals and researchers from academia, private sector, including the tech industry, the public sector, and the most importantly, local residents. I'm going to show you some of them. Local examples of Tel Aviv-Yafo. The first one is the digital platform. Is an app that has been developed in the 2014 and is used by the municipality to maintain continuous contact with local residents. During the pandemic, the platform has been adapted to update residents on government guidelines and provide relevant information related to the rollout of vaccinations and localization of testing centers, updates on the education systems, and guidelines for businesses. This is a very strong platform, digital and app platform in Tel Aviv-Yafo. What we show here is to track the spread of the coronavirus across the city's computer and the IT department have developed a map-based coronavirus dashboard, mapping out spreading and hotspots and providing important information and data on the number of people in quarantine, with emphasis on the number of elderly living in each district of the city who are the most vulnerable to the COVID. So we have all the details every time about the people according to the pandemic in the city. Another dashboard, it's a welfare dashboard. Another dashboard that has been developed for internal use in the municipality is a welfare dashboard. The screen snip is dating back to March and April 2020. Israel and Tel Aviv were under the first lockdown, demonstrating that many citizens were calling the welfare department with inquiries relating to the housing, the problems of, according to pandemics with housing, and other data according to housing. Housing survey. As a tool, it was helpful for us to the strategic planning department, because earlier in the 2020, we started to develop our housing policy, seeing that the issues of housing was very prominent in the welfare dashboard, allowed us to overlay the data with other data that has been collected in the housing survey, showing that many of the residents who are worried that they won't be able to carry on living their neighborhood are located in Yafo and the southeast, and are considered more vulnerable. So we recognize the situation of the feeling of the resident and especially the housing situation. One more platform is the municipality also works on a regular basis with its vibrant startup community, supporting initiatives and projects that tackle inequalities of gender, race, religion, and disability. Here, for example, you can see Safe App, network for women to support them when they walk in a public space and feel alone or not safety or comfortable. It's a new platform, and we are looking for it to be continued. Thank you very much.
네, 고맙습니다. 실시간으로 함께해 주셨습니다.
Thank you very much for the presentation. So that was a live presentation online. Thank you very much, Director, for the presentation. So once again, thank you.
도시 세션 마지막 사례 발표가
So the last
있습니다.
presentation of City Session is from Los Angeles. We have Jean Home, Deputy Mayor for Budget and Innovation of Los Angeles, USA, who's going to talk about the smart city case of LA. Please have a look.
Thank you. I'm so honored to be able to join you during Smart City Week. My name is Jean Holm, and I'm the Deputy Mayor in the city of Los Angeles. Seoul and Los Angeles have had a long-standing relationship related to data and tech, and I'm really delighted to be able to continue that. Today, I want to share some things that we're doing around making LA a smart city, but particularly not just on technologies and data, but also how that helps us to be more equitable and just. Let's start out with governance. We have really changed the way in which we've looked at how we govern all of the technologies. Just this last year, we published our Smart LA 2028 plan, a compendium of hundreds of actions across 42 different departments at the City of Los Angeles that puts together how we're using technology as we move towards hosting the Olympics for the third time in 2028. It talks about autonomous vehicles, about smart sewers, about climate action, and about smart city sensors. And it does so in a way which really takes into account what's happened and changed during the pandemic and what we want to do to make things more equitable for everybody. In addition, we've also looked at how we work on data and tech, and we've published a digital code of ethics that helps to guide all of our programmers, analysts, and data scientists in ways that make sure that we're not introducing bias into our algorithms and our systems, so that as we develop those systems, we're really thinking of the entirety of the 4 million residents of Los Angeles. One of the other things we're doing is very physical, which is actually having a smart Internet of Things. So I'm going to just highlight this one project. This is a project called Predicting What We Breathe, and we'd love to actually have your city involved in this project as well. So Predicting What We Breathe is a grant from NASA, the US Space Agency, that combines satellite data with the data from lots of city sensors, sensors at our landfills, sensors at our airport, at the Port of Los Angeles, from our trash trucks, from schools, and from sensors that we're giving out to people in the community around citizen science. And so these are sensors, you can see some of them on that fence in the bottom of this picture. And they give us data that shows us at a hyper-local level what the air quality is at any given point. Here in California, we often get wildfires, which drastically and quickly change our air quality. And we want to be able to understand that and give people that information. More importantly, what this project does is we use machine learning to predict what the air quality is going to be like in the future. So we do 2-week predictions with 92% accuracy, taking into account seasonal changes and other issues around air quality. We also want to make sure that we're doing impactful partnerships. So there may be 50,000 employees at the City of Los Angeles, but there are 4 million people in the City of Los Angeles, and many, many people in the city have great ideas and smart ideas about how to use data and understand it and tell stories with it. So we incorporate those people from outside our regular city workforce in these projects through 2 programs. One is called the Data Science Federation. This program is connected to 18 universities, and we share it with many other cities across the area. We started and lead this program to help students and professors work on real city problems, gain real city experience, and help to bring young ideas to problems that we've been working on. We also have a Data Angels program. Los Angeles means the city of angels. And so our data angels are mid-career volunteers who are data scientists out of business or somewhere else. And they come and volunteer for an 8-week program part-time to work on a specific project. This helps us to bring in new ideas that are going to make things better in Los Angeles. The other thing we realized during the pandemic, and that we've been working on for a while, is really how we connect everybody to this smart infrastructure and how we expand digital inclusion and literacy. Here in Los Angeles right now, we're celebrating National Inclusion Week, which is a series of events held in cities all over the country to really focus on how we're helping people get access to devices, access to the internet, and access to and being able to understand how to do that safely. Here you can see some of the things that we do, from programs for children and learning robotics, to augmented reality ways to explore our parks, to free programs on how to be able to get internet access for free, as well as building up our youth core, which is our Angelino core. This is a group of 400 students who are helping to change the way in which we provide neighborhood services, including helping people get access to the internet. We're investing over $15 million this year in building out our city infrastructure to provide more public free Wi-Fi for residents and for visitors. Again, as we build up to the Olympics, we want to make sure our tourists are having a great time and able to always stay connected. Part of what we try to do is also make sure that we're looking forward to where the next change is needed. So not only are we looking at the things that the pandemic has highlighted, making sure people have equitable access to information, making sure that they are living in neighborhoods that are clean and safe, making sure that people have good air to breathe during other disasters like wildfires. All of this is based around our resilience plans called the Resilient Los Angeles. But we're really looking at this as the decade of climate action. This is a critical time for our planet, for all of us, to be able to think about and act upon the things that are going to dramatically change and shift the way in which we're managing our greenhouse gases and the way in which we are managing climate change. So we've created two groups. One is the climate mayors. There's 470 cities represented. And in the C40 cities, which is a global network of 97 cities with more than 10,000 actions they've declared to be able to fight and combat climate action. These are specific actions that we then work at a local level. So if we're talking about making sure that we decrease our greenhouse gases, we're actually talking about how we're managing our sanitation department, how we're monitoring and measuring the gases coming out of landfills. How are we making sure that we change transportation and traffic regulations to be able to decrease carbon monoxide? And so these are the kinds of things that we want to make sure that when we think big, we act locally to be able to make the kinds of changes that we can only do in cities where we're able to actually affect very local change and action. But LA is one of many cities on the planet. And while we're the 13th largest economy in the world, just as a city, we are also part of a global economy. And so this year we joined the Open Government Partnership, which helps to open up more government data and more transparency into how we're doing things. So we're working with our civil society and citizens throughout the city and our residents to be able to look at how we're managing and what we're managing in ways that are going to make it more transparent, more understandable, and for people to have a bigger say in how their government acts. This complements an earlier commitment we made to commit to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. So we have committed to all 17 goals and multiple actions under each one in order to be able to show our progress on that. But in America, we have a saying, put your money where your mouth is. If we don't back up all of these great ideas with real commitments from our budget, it doesn't work. So one of the areas that my office oversees is the city's $11.5 billion budget. This year, we delivered the most progressive, most insightful budget in the city's history. We committed $1 billion to fight homelessness, and another $1 billion for justice and equity programs. These are programs that talk about public safety reform, youth employment and learning, participatory budgeting, where we're bringing citizens in to help make decisions about how we spend our money as a government. A guaranteed basic income program, the largest in the country, to be able to give the citizens most in need the income that they need to be able to get through the next year. And we don't forget our small business owners, as we also have programs specifically for them. So these are some of the things we're doing to become a smart city, but always keeping an eye to equity. And so when you are next in the United States, I'd like to welcome you to our City of Angels. Thank you very much, and I hope you have a great conference.
네, 감사합니다. 이렇게 부시장님의
Thank you very much. That was Vice Mayor, Deputy Mayor of LA for the presentation. So we have heard with great interest different and interesting cases of different cities. So in order to have a deeper understanding and discussion about the new challenges faced by cities in the post-COVID era, we are going to, before that, have a look at a video showing Seoul City's Mission 2030.
공정한 기회로 각자의 꿈을 펼치는 세계가 부러워하는 최고의 도시. 안심하고 풍요로운 삶을 영위하며 역사의 가치와 행복의 소중함을 배우며 살아갈 2030년을 향해 서울은 지금 변화를 시작합니다. 계층 이동 사다리를 통해 더 나은 삶으로 올라갑니다. 누구나 바라는 내 집에서 재능으로 성공하는 청년들이 살아가고 은퇴 이후에 인생이 멋들어지게 펼쳐지며 골목에선 활기찬 웃음이 넘쳐나는 도시. 2030년 서울은 공정과 상생으로 누구나 꿈을 펼칠 수 있는 사회가 될 것입니다. 서울의 경쟁력 강화로 글로벌 초일류 도시로 발돋움합니다. 금융과 디지털, 뷰티 산업의 허브로 성장과 미래를 위한 투자가 이루어지며 유니콘 기업과 스몰 브랜드가 성장하는 곳. 세계인들이 몰려와 멋과 맛을 즐기는 매력의 도시. 2030년 서울은 세계를 선도하는 글로벌 탑5 도시로 성장할 것입니다. 안전 환경이 구축된 안심 도시가 든든하게 지켜줍니다. 스마트 헬스케어로 언제 어디서나 주치의가 함께하고 환경과 질병, 재난으로부터 든든하게 지켜주는 곳. 파란 하늘 아래 마음껏 숨 쉴 수 있는 도시. 2030년 서울은 안전 1등, 쾌적 1등, 건강한 도시로 자리매김할 것입니다. 멋과 감성으로 품격을 높인 미래 감성 도시에서 살아갑니다. 지금껏 만나지 못한 세상을 경험하며 동네의 지천이 수변공원으로 탈바꿈하고 품격 있는 문화와 예술을 즐기며 2000년 역사와 문화가 현대 속에 살아 숨쉬는 이곳은 2030년 우리가 만날 서울입니다. 2030년 서울은 바뀔 것입니다. 시민의 삶도 달라질 것입니다. 더 나은 내일을 위해 공정도시 서울이 다시 뜁니다.
네, 의미 있는 영상 잘 보았습니다.
Thank you very much for the video. So this is about a better tomorrow. So this was a video showing us the Seoul City's smart city vision for a better tomorrow. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be beginning our panel discussion to be moderated by Professor Lee Jung-hoon of Yonsei University, together with 4 experts. And now, I would like to hand over to Professor Lee Jung-hoon to moderate this session. Yes, hello everyone. I am back here in 1 year's time. I am Lee Jung-hoon from Yonsei University. I'll be serving as the moderator in this panel discussion. Yes, we have just heard from the 4 cities, and I believe that I would have to sum up the 4 cases. Now, together with the Cambridge University, we are also working on a 2021 Seoul Smart City Index, and now I'd also like to explain a little bit about this as well. Now, for the city of Seoul, now especially about the epidemiological investigation system, has been globally benchmarked since last year. And now, as this is scaled up, then starting with the call centers, and also many of the fourth industrial revolution technologies have been utilized in providing these services and ultimately to provide a platform for the citizens. I believe that the presentation showed how such platform was provided. And then now, in the Singaporean case, now we also saw the case of the smart journey. So the meeting between communication and technology, and then now going beyond that, the 365 smart sensor, and then also the hyper connectivity in the city. So how they were able to provide such connectivity throughout the COVID pandemic. And then now, from Tel Aviv, Hajit Nali Joseph, she talked about how the existing platform was used to communicate better with the citizens under the pandemic, coming up with a welfare platform or also to deliver the services for the disadvantaged. And I believe what is important here is about the agility of SMART. So we need to place emphasis on agility. In other words, how quickly we can adapt to changes, how quickly we can come up with a system for the changing times. And also having the resources for that would also be very important. And last was about building a resilient Los Angeles. So the Deputy Mayor Jean Home talked about building a just and fair Los Angeles. So not only about the smart city, but also the digital literacy and digital inclusion, and also citizens' participation based on collective wisdom. And through it all, how they have tried to reduce the digital divide. So thank you very much for the 4 presentations and listening to the 4 cases. And then I would now like to hand over to Christina from Barcelona first. And the question is about, again, now listening to the cases of the 4 cities, including Seoul. Then, for example, their infection control, in other words, utilizing the smart technologies. So listening to their policies based on smart technologies to fight COVID-19. What do you think were the similarities? Then also in other cities, I wonder whether the same trend can be seen in other cities as well. So yes, Christina, Ola.
Hello, Ola. Good morning, and thank you very much for the invitation. And congratulations for the city of Seoul for being organizing the Smart City Week. I think it's a great initiative, and I'm glad to be in this panel with such great cities and such great initiatives. Actually, I was now realizing that these 4 examples we've been using as examples in the world of cities that have been confronting the pandemic in the most efficient ways, like Tel Aviv, Singapore, Seoul, and now also Los Angeles, that I've had the chance to learn about it. So congratulations, and yeah, and we hope that we can see all the results of these programs in the near future. As for your question, I think it was the pandemic, of course, has been terrible for all the cities in the world, and it has been a very difficult time, but it also has brought the opportunity for many cities to face problems that they were already facing, and they were not really very agile, in your words, to confront. So this has been an opportunity for many cities to develop faster the digital programs that they were already working on, such as Singapore or Seoul or Tel Aviv, or starting new programs to face the problems that they were already facing, like all the programs that City of Los Angeles was mentioning, or in the case of Barcelona that I'm from, like other programs facing digital literacy, like e-medicine as well, that we have seen in some of the examples, e-schooling, and all the digitalization of public services, which has been pretty slow in Spain, although like it has been on the agenda. It has been a little bit slower to get there. So the pandemic has brought an opportunity for governments all around the world of cities to make it faster and more agile, and to realize the importance of digitalization and also other like new methodologies regarding urban innovation to face these problems, sorry. So in that sense, I think these 4 examples are great examples on how that has been done.
All right, thank you very much. So you provided a commentary on the 4 cases of the different cities, and especially regarding the government digitalization. In other words, through digital transformation, the government is trying to provide new types of services, and also in the course of that, agility was important. So thank you very much for the comment. And then now, if I may also address this question to other members of the panel. Now, regarding this smart infection control, now the smart health protocol, what do you believe were the success factors here? So in discussing your cases, then what do you believe were the factors that led to this success in the infection control utilizing such smart platform or smart technology? And not only for the infection control, but what do you believe are the success factors for a smart city? So could it be civic participation, or could it be technology, or could it be the infrastructure? There would be many different factors. So if I may now, I would like to first go to Mr. Lim to respond to this question.
Thank you. I think in understanding the impact of COVID on a city comes in very many layers. One of them being how prepared is the government from a digitization and digitalization point of view. And it is going to be important on the readiness impact on the technology to be deployed. The more digital capable the government is, the better and more agile is able to respond. I think on the second level is communication on the citizens based on the policies and the data that's been collected, and how that policy is communicated in such a way that not only the citizen can understand, but be able to take the steps to take care of themselves as the pressure comes on to the infrastructure of a city. I think on the third layer, what needs to happen is that of it is not solely a government-only solution. It requires the partnership between the government and the citizens, and then identifying the right technology that they feel they can use, as well as positioning the right communication channel for them to feedback, so that they are assured that the steps that are taken and the governance in place in ensuring that the personable identifiable information are used solely for the purpose of public safety and security, and not used beyond what it is meant to do. And then ultimately, where the innovation can take place is also, it is going to be an evolving one. And we can learn not only within the community, but across the countries as different levels of incidents happen, and we can all learn as a global community to react to it. Back to you.
네, 감사합니다. 하짓 과장님은 어떻게 생각하시는지 이스라엘 사례를 한번
Thank you very much. What about Director Hajit? Could you also share with us the case of Israel?
Yeah, according to the pandemic, we recognize the need to continue develop urban platforms that enable maximum coverage in accessing information, presenting data to the people and the decision makers, and identifying needs that need to be addressed. All of this will also allow us to evaluate in a strategic and long-term way better, and that's the big understanding according to the pandemic period and quick platforms and ideas that we need to develop this year and the last year and continue it for the next years, of course.
네. 아마 오픈 데이터의 어떤
Well, then, regarding, so I think you talked about the importance of open platform and open data. So I believe that data, so especially the importance of data, real-time data has become even much more important. Now I understand that the city of Seoul is also dealing a lot with data. So then I would like to ask Ms. Kang, so what do you believe were the success factor for Seoul for the smart infection control and the smart city? Yes, hello. Let me first introduce myself. I am Kang Ji-hyun, the Smart City Officer in Seoul. Now, before responding to the question, I would just like to thank all those who are joining us at this 2021 Smart City Leaders Forum. So, Mr. Lim Chin-hwa from Singapore and Hajit Nali from Tel Aviv, and also Christina from Barcelona. Thank you very much for joining us today. Now, Korea is now transitioning to the stage of living with COVID, meaning that if we are to transition to living with COVID, then we have to take a very pay close attention to the severe patients and also mortality. And we see that in the case of Korea, the mortality from COVID-19 is now standing at around 0.3%. Of course, we have had our challenges and crises under pandemic, but thanks to the very thorough screening as well as preemptive screening and tracing, I would say that Korea fared quite well, relatively better in terms of the infection control. Now, according to the peer research by a US institute, then among the countries surveyed, Korea had the highest smartphone penetration rate. And also the smartphone, so the cell phone penetration rate was the highest, especially for the smartphone. So this also allowed us to introduce the advanced high-tech apps and functions, and not only the smartphones, but also the tablets as well as laptops. So we also had a high penetration of such devices, and I believe that the participation by the citizens was also a critical factor in ensuring the success. Well, thank you very much for that. So we have just listened to the three speakers, and I believe that they pointed to the digitalization and also the openness. In other words, allowing citizens to freely use the technology as well as the apps. Now then, I would like to move on to the next question right away.
So one of the things we talk a lot about is urban resilience. And our LA Deputy Mayor also mentioned about this concept. We also talk about digital divide and digital literacy. And all of these concepts have become the focus with the pandemic. But of course, the divide has worsened with the pandemic as well. So my question is the following. What should be our approach to smart city in order to increase urban resilience or in order to bridge the gap of digital divide in the post-COVID era? I would like to first turn it over to Christina for your observations.
마이크를 켜주시기 바랍니다.
Can you unmute yourself, Christina?
Yes, sorry. Can you hear me now?
네, yeah.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, thank you, Jung-hoon. It's a very interesting question, and I think we've all witnessed in the last years, like 10 years, how the smart city concept has progressed from a very only focused on technology concept to a very wide concept that entails all verticals that cities or countries such as Singapore entail as well. So I think the pandemic has reinforced this new concept, more horizontal and holistic of the smart city. And we should be looking at technology, definitely, because technology is a tool that is available to us, and we should be using it to make things better and to be more resilient in front of any type of crisis, such as the pandemics or like natural disasters that happen in many cities in the world, or any other disasters. But also we've realized that technology needs to be a tool with a purpose. And this purpose that it needs to serve is like equity, social inclusion, water supplies, like smart mobility, all the different verticals that the smart city concept entails. So I think we should use this experience to reinforce this view, this holistic view of smart city, and continue working on that.
오케이, 감사합니다. 하직 과장님 어떻게 생각하시는지요?
Thank you very much. What about Director Hajit?
Yeah. I want to explain again that we are the duty of the municipality is to learn the needs of the people, and to get exposed to these needs and the solution that we give to everyone. We have learned that we must reach a variety of population through digital means and as well. And this is one of the big challenges we recognize to continue. Again, with the platforms we are developed and the data collections and the public participation and all the tools we have in the municipality, especially in Tel Aviv-Yafo and the nationality of Israel.
네, 고맙습니다.
All right, thank you very much for that. And then now to Mr. Lim Chin-hwa.
Thank you. I think in the context of resilience of a city or a community, there is always the physical safety and security in mind, and there's also the social fabric of safety and security, and ultimately that of a national interest. In that context, I think for an urbanized environment, which a lot of the cities are struggling with, is that of how do you get more from less. So it is going to be a pivotal situation where you're trying to balance how to maintain that sustainability and also ensure that there's the right value chain and supply to feed the city, whether it is in a context of water to food security and even to health security and the basic needs that will keep a person healthy. So these contexts will always be a city problem, and where technology comes in is how quickly we can bring in the information to analyze it and have the contextualization of things that are happening within the city, so that not only where you have a deluge of data where you will require AI technology to sieve them out and bring to the attention of the decision makers to react. So there is that context of reacting when something happens, and then with the data that the city generates, you have a conversation with the opportunity to prescribe and with the ability to predict, to anticipate what are the steps that will keep a city resilient. Thank you.
네, 감사합니다. 우리 강지원 선생님 어떻게 생각하세요?
Thank you very much. And now what about Officer Kang? What is your response to the question? Right, now because of COVID-19, we see that the digitalization has occurred much more quickly than we had expected. Now then, under such transformation, those who are disadvantaged, so in other words, the elderly and then those who are better equipped. So there is a digital divide between the groups that is widening. So Seoul is rolling out many different policies in order to address such digital divide. So for example, we have the elderly customized smartphone delivery system, then also the kiosk project at welfare centers or the elderly centers so that the elderly citizens would also become familiar with kiosks. Now, in this transformation era, if we can also have standards that would also be friendly to the elderly, and also if we can have transformation that is barrier-free. So that is what we are aiming for. So that we can have transformation, digital transformation that do not leave anyone behind.
So unfortunately, our time is almost up. So I believe that we can continue our discussions on a later occasion. So to wrap up, with the emergence of pandemic, we can say that our perspective vis-a-vis data has changed. So before, the data was very static and symmetrical, but now they're asymmetrical and they're also dynamic. And today, we're talking a lot about building infrastructure centered on people, and this infrastructure needs to be developed together with the community. And just like the case of Singapore, we have to also think about how to scale up these initiatives and with whom we have to cooperate and partner with. And I think that are some of the key factors that we need to think about regarding smart cities going forward. As you saw in the Smart City of Seoul video, it is very important to think about what we should do now and what we should go with and what we should leave out moving forward. And as our LA Deputy Mayor said, we have to think about what kind of local changes that we can make in our communities, because eventually these local changes will develop into nationwide changes and global changes. So I think that it is very important to also highlight the emotional aspects of smart city going forward. And I hope that today we were able to have some we'll be able to actually make some initial promises of further developing smart cities going forward with our citizens. Thank you very much. And I'll now turn it over to our MC.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for sharing such insightful and useful information. So once again, I would like to thank the moderator as well as all the panelists for partaking in this discussion. And also, of course, we are all joining from afar, but we would still like to have a group photo to remember this meaningful event. And we are also seeing the faces of the speakers on the screen. So now that I would also like to ask the moderator as well as the discussant to face the camera in the front. And now we will take a photo. Thank you. One more shoot. Now, why don't we also wave to all those who are joining us from Korea and outside. So if you can wave to the camera for the benefit of all those participants from all over the world. Yes, if you could maintain your pose for a bit. All right, thank you very much for that. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for your insight. Thanks to your participation, we were able to have an in-depth discussion about the pandemic control in the smart city. So thank you very much for that. And with that, we have come to the end of the session 1. But we do have the next session, which is a special session. So I would like to ask for your participation until the end of the program today. Now, in this special session, we will be hearing from Professor Choi Jae-bung of the Department of Service Convergence Design from Sungkyunkwan University. That will be followed by a roundtable utilizing Metaverse, which is a new platform in the COVID-19 era. So now, ladies and gentlemen, the first part of the special session, and that is Professor Choi Jae-bung, and here he is. Hello everyone, great to meet you. Yes, I'm back for this special talk, Time to Change the World. Now today I would like to take a journey with all of you to Seoul in the future, in our imagination. Now I'm sure that we all agree that especially in this COVID-19, now that is going to be the new humanity who have the phones with them all the time. So that is going to be the phono sapiens. So sapiens is the species name for human beings, and then the phone, meaning that we are the Phono sapiens, meaning that the normative humankind are the ones who always carry the smartphones with them. So because the humanity is changing, so is civilization into digital civilization. But then now all these changes, it's not being imposed by businesses, it's not being created by businesses and then imposing onto the humanity, but then people got to use them and then they liked it, and now that is where the changes are coming. And then now with the COVID-19, there have been transformative changes to our everyday life. So now then, the new normal that we are seeing under COVID-19, so that is the change in our everyday life toward the digital. So I would say that it is the digital transformation. Now then, for the future of Seoul, then where can we see the future of Seoul? And that is in the digital new continent. So then this means that our existing world outlook also has to change towards where? To focus more on the new digital continent. What does this mean? Now, do you remember when Columbus discovered the American continent? Now, when he discovered this new continent, now at that time, the Great Britain and Spain, so the other countries also crossed over to the Americas, and then they had their colonies, and so they opened up a new continent and they opened up a new world outlook, and then they began to accumulate wealth there, and then they also began to develop new technologies. So Europe became the standard of the new civilization. Now I would say that today this is when we are discovering a new continent, which is the digital. So the Google, Apple, Facebook, Amazon. Now let's take a look at the services that they provide. Now Google is making a lot of money out of YouTube. Where is the YouTube broadcasting station? You know, the CBS broadcasting station is in Mokdong, KBS is in Yeouido or Sangam-dong, wherever, but YouTube, well, we cannot visit any broadcasting system. Likewise for Facebook, 2 billion people talk to each other on a month. Where's the main meeting room? It's not there. Where is it? It's in the new continent, the new digital continent. And this civilization, now based on the knowledge-based platform, they are spreading this civilization to everywhere else in the world. And then now, so using the app, we can share everything. Okay, then we're going to change the taxi. So there is Uber. We're also going to change hotels. So then ergo, there is the sharing of the sharing apps. So then we see that all of them are moving to the new continent. And now also what we call the MZ generation, now they're also moving on to the new digital continent, and they have experienced great success. And then now what had been dominated by the 50s and the 60s, so the standard civilization has been transformed into the digital civilization. And then now what are they creating today? And that is the famous metaverse, which will be explained in a more interesting fashion by someone else. So I would just like to explain a bit about how the metaverse has become a platform. So people are enjoying the game because we can play the game 24 hours a day using this smartphone. So in this virtual world, you fight, you battle, you have fun. And then now with this character and myself, well, it seems as if this character is having more fun. And now I spend much more time on this game, and then now this avatar is becoming much more important than myself. And then now you get to think, well, can I also make money here? Maybe I can also live here. So then now this kind of thinking increased among the teenagers, among the 20s. And then now the company Roblox began to take advantage of this kind of thinking. Now in the beginning what they have done was make money playing games on our platform. How do we do that? So they provide you with tools. And then you create games and then put this on their platform. So let's say you create a bowling alley, and then now the avatars would walk around, and then now they go in here and then they play bowling, and then they have to pay, right? So that's what Roblox is about. Now, here there is no state, there's no central government. So you trade not with fiat, but then with digital currency, like Bitcoin. And then now, using blockchain, it works. But then now, games are not enough. So why don't we also start selling things? But then how do we sell things? Digital can be copied. Then we can also have a register for this digital object. Then let's say I have a house, then where do I register this? You go to the registrar's office. So that is the NFT. But then now for the registrar's office, you need to have a central government. But then we don't need a central government because we can use a blockchain. So this is not about the currency, but then this is allowing you to register an object under your name, utilizing the blockchain. So the new humanity, they have landed on this new digital continent about 30 years ago. And then now the internet civilization is changing more rapidly in that time. And now the humanity after such experience is now creating a new civilization. And this is also changing their world outlook. Now think about this. Now in this new continent, so let's say our studying should also be done on this new continent, and that is the Ecole 42. So now they say that there's not even a professor in this school. So now in stage 1, then you need to complete so-and-so project in 2 weeks. What if I fail? Then you take the class again. So then you utilize all your human network online and offline, then you study, and then what happens? Your brain begins to open up. Oh, so the internet is not only about gaming, you can also study here. Now then, it's no longer an era of the fixed curriculum. So in the past, you just remember things, you memorize things. You take exams and you score well on the exams, and that will be your success. No longer. Now in this new digital continent, you explore things, you meet people, and then you have to learn how to learn. So you also need to learn new learning methods, and you can also do that in the new space called the metaverse. Now digital healthcare. Now utilizing digital healthcare, you can check the heartbeat. They say that even your body mass and also the cardio analysis, and then now it also tells you about your health status, and then now the insurance companies are taking a look at it, and then now, well, those who take care of their health utilizing such technology, maybe you can also give them a discount on their insurance premium. So then also in other realms as well, so for example like literature or art, now all you have to do is just display this digitally. You don't have to carry around the artworks everywhere around the world. That's right. And then also the most popular robots, they are shaped like dogs or babies, and then the elderly would take care of them. They also talk to them, and they give them mental assurance. And also what they do is these robots, they would also monitor the elderly and see whether they're doing well.
That is why even though they are living alone, the government can take care of them. And if you're worried about your parents, you can send that kind of dolls to your parents. So there are lots of different concepts that are emerging, but not only that, we can think about farming. It's very difficult to farm, but if you have the system and if you want, the system to farm according to different weather, when the sun sets and sun goes down, everything is becoming possible. Of course, it costs a lot of money, but once it's established and deployed, it will really bring about revolution in farming. And this will be a very important system that will address the challenges for women, which is food security. And it goes also for home. For example, at home, you talk to your speaker and it says, how's the weather today? So we see the emergence of a lot of AI speakers. And with that, a lot of people are interested in smart home. But up until now, we don't have a very, very disruptive and innovative technologies. But once these digital technologies and for new humanity meet with good ideas, we'll be able to see a lot of great transformation. So what about actually implementing all of these imaginary services into metaverse? So we can maybe come up with a metaverse game, and people will go into the metaverse and also have their avatars and experience different services on metaverse. What if that becomes possible? The city of Seoul is implementing a lot of smart city projects in the field of citizen health, welfare, and environment. But if you look at the past 10 years, some have failed, some have succeeded. And it's very difficult to actually decide the following. Would the citizens like this service? And what about if we try to make all of this implemented in a new digital continent? What is clear is that going forward, these new technologies and the businesses that drive these new digital technologies will dominate the world. Look at Amazon, Netflix, and YouTube. How could they become world players? They have subscribers or paid subscribers, more than 200 million paid subscribers. Everybody wants to be part of that community, and that is why they've become very popular. So what's going to happen? You need a technology that can win the hearts of people. So that is why whether you develop smart cities, whether you apply different digital technologies, if you want to take the lead, you have to make sure that you develop something that will cater to the needs of the Seoul citizens and the global consumers. And you really need to create this fandom. So, up until now, we were very much focused on being the world's first, but what's important going forward is to make something that can really win the hearts of the consumers, that can make the consumers' heart throb. So Mr. Lee Young said that we're living in a world where empathy is our capital. In order to make people's heart throb, you need to make them empathize. So what should be the starting point? Of course, it's humanism. So the digital future should dream about a future full of humanism. So a lot of people can really empathize with how good the service is, how good the experience that they're having is, and they'll be very much surprised with the kind of experience that they'll go through, and they will actually introduce that experience to others, and that can be the key to success. So Korea's content power has become increasingly big all around the world, and Korea is emerging as a cultural powerhouse. And I believe that throughout our history, we have developed the power of humanities that people around the world can empathize with. In Korea, we're very much interested in psychology of people, and it's reflected in the diversity of our vocabularies. We have so many different words to tell that how much we're frustrated, and we have a lot of different words that can actually express the different nuances of the feelings that we have. And even for saying yes, we have many ways to say yes in Korean. So we have such a rich vocabulary in Korea. And also we have a deep interest in people and people's psychology. So we need to further cultivate this power and then put that power into our technologies. Yes, Republic of Korea is a technological powerhouse. We are the third largest manufacturing nation in the world, and Korean companies are winning against Japanese companies in terms of market cap. We have number 1, 2 semiconductor companies, and you can say that Korea has indeed achieved a miracle. But, there are companies who lack in terms of semiconductor technology. They don't have like foldable phones, but Apple has 4 times more market cap than us. So if we look at Apple, we see that there is fandom of 800 million users. So how can we build a fandom? We have to apply or put those hearts into our technologies. So Steve Jobs said the following. He said, we did not have enough technology. That is why we put humanities and humanity in our technology, which made our customers or consumers heart throb and sing. So Netflix actually is focusing on increasing customer convenience, and Tim Cook, the world-renowned leader, has also said Everybody thought that they will be actually announcing a new Apple car, but Tim Cook announced their initiative, which is called Racial Equity and Justice. So that is to build like Detroit schools in Detroit, and also giving free education to people of colors, so that we can ensure access to IT for everyone. So this is not something that a politician is doing, but a business is doing. So there are 800 million Apple fans around the world, and they just love this company called Apple, full of humanity and humanism. So the true #1 company should be like this. They should be a role model like Apple. And ESG is a key word these days. It's to protect the environment, to contribute to society, and improve governance. And of course, governance should also be able to attract the hearts of consumers. And if you look at a lot of the business that are successful, they are very good at winning the hearts of the king, that is the consumers. So everything should be focused on humanity and authenticity. So what about Seoul? What should it do? In the future, Seoul should try to create a fandom of its citizens who are indeed the king of Seoul, that king that the Seoul should serve. And we have to fill out Seoul's design with humanity and authenticity. So we have to create a city where Homo sapiens will enjoy. There should be metaverse, a lot of imagination. There'll be people who want to become webtoon art cartoonists, web YouTubers, and singer-songwriters, and they will be developing content that will spread throughout the world. And we need to create a digital new city that will trigger the imagination of everyone. And Seoul should be at the core or at the fore of such future cities. So I hope that a lot of young people will be able to dream big in this new digital continent of Seoul. Thank you very much.
네, 고맙습니다.
Thank you very much. Now, in this great digitalization and the future of Seoul, so those were the topics of Professor Choi Jae-bung's presentation. Thank you very much for your talk on Digital Seoul. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the last part of the special session. And now, this is the time for us to meet with the speakers in a virtuous world. But before then, we are going to watch a video introducing Seoul together with BTS.
서울은 계속된다. 가장 서울답게. Your Seoul goes on.
네, 여러분 이번
And now, ladies and gentlemen, and this part of the program is not being held in the studio. Now, this is going to be held in the virtual world for this Metaverse Roundtable to be hosted for the first time ever by Seoul. So now, why don't we all move to the roundtable? Hello, everyone. Now, under the theme of the advent of a contactless society and the future ahead. Now, we are here for this Smart City Week Leaders Forum, and my name is Lee Jung-hoon, and I will be moderating this last part of the program. Do you all see me? Do you know where I am? I am here at the Metaverse Conference Room of Seoul. Now, today's roundtable is very special because we are holding this in a metaverse. It's quite new, and I feel like I'm experiencing Seoul in the future. So I would like to thank Seoul for your invitation to this very special event, and it's a great honor for me to be moderating this session. Now, as you all know, the ICT infrastructure competitiveness of Seoul, the leading smart city, is very high compared to its peers. Now, the fourth industrial revolution and then also the contactless transition as a result of the pandemic. Now, moving beyond that, we are now preparing for the metaverse. So now the metaverse roundtable is going to show you a glimpse of the future of Seoul as a metaverse city. So what do you think? Isn't it much cooler than the real-life conference? Because now we are not wearing any masks. And so that also feels new. And I see the different citizens from different walks of life and different ages are experiencing this Seoul Metaverse conference room online. And I'm sure that you are not familiar with this, but then, yes, today we will be discussing interesting issues about the future of Seoul. Now then, allow me to introduce the participants in this roundtable, in this Metaverse roundtable. Now, whenever I introduce you, then please raise your icon, raising your hand. So now, why don't we try this? So you can raise your hand like this. You can click on the icon to raise your hand. Yes, thank you, thank you. Now, in this Metaverse conference room, the first avatar awaiting us is the one who is in charge of the smart city policy and projects, and it is Mr. Park Jong-soo, Director General. So, hello? Yes, hello. Yes, I am Park Jong-soo, in charge of the smart city policies in Seoul City. Well, thank you very much. And that blue jacket really becomes you. Well, thank you. Now, the second avatar is the one that you met in the special talk earlier. And it is Professor Choi Jae-bung from the Service Convergence Design Department of Sangkyungan University. Now, Professor talked about the Phono Sapiens and also how it is going to change the everyday lives of Seoul. So, hello, Professor. Yes, hello. I am Choi Jae-bung from Sangkyungan University. Great to meet you all. Hello. Thank you very much. I love your beard. Yes, thank you. Now, last but not least, this avatar is Shim-seok, partner from A&M Company, and now you are the leader who shows us the direction moving into the future in this smart city. So yes, hello, I'm Shin Woo-seok, partner from Bain & Company. Great to meet you all, and I look forward to the discussion today. Thank you. So now we are here at this Metaverse Roundtable, and it is also a new experience for me to be taking part here as a moderator. So I would say that it's quite different from my previous experience. And I wonder how it feels for you. So first, Professor Choi, how does it feel? Yes, it feels very new. because well, metaverse actually we shouldn't be using honorific, but then I should say hi you all. But then I see that it's quite formal, so I don't think I can do away with honorifics. But I like this approach. I like this because in order to communicate, then we need to, especially the older generation. Now, to the younger generation who are more digitally savvy, then we try to lower our, let's say, eyes in order to communicate better with them, and for us to coming all the way to the metaverse to communicate better with the other generation. So I think this is a very special attempt by Seoul, and also I believe that this is a very worthy attempt. I feel very comfortable being here today. Yes, I believe seeing eye to eye is very important. Then I would also imagine that from an administrator, you would also feel different. So what do you think, Mr. Park? Well, I feel a little bit flustered, I might say, but then I would say that this would be the approach to provide the best administrative services. So we will try to make the best use of it. If we can utilize the metaverse to improve our communication with the citizens, then we can create policies that are better for the citizens, and we can also improve citizens' access to administration, so we can also improve the quality of our administration. And then also to Mr. Shin Eun-seok from Bain & Company, how do you feel? Well, I had also participated in a metaverse meeting a few times in the past, but this is the best and the coolest conference room. The future is already here, is what I remember hearing. And now, as the finale of the Smart City Week Leaders Forum, I believe that this is probably the most befitting method and modality. Now, metaverse is the keyword for Seoul, and so there is someone who saw this as a keyword for the future and also instructed the Seoul civil servant to work on this, and it is Mayor Oh Se-hun. And now why don't we hear from him for his welcoming remarks. Yes, hello, this is Oh Se-hun, Mayor of Seoul. Now here I am sitting as an avatar, meeting everyone for the first time in my avatar. So now the 2021 Seoul Smart City Week. Now because this is an event that deals with the advanced technology of Seoul, so I believe that this has been made possible by this team. So how do you like my avatar, my other self? Now, the future, which is now really upon us because of COVID-19, is going to be full of new opportunities. And one of them is the theme of today, which is the metaverse. The city of Seoul, moving in step with these new changes, will also try to build a metaverse Seoul for the betterment of the citizens, where we can combine the virtual with the real, and we will continue to work on this so that we can have better communication and services to the citizens out. So I look forward to your support. Well, thank you very much, Mayor O. Yes, in the metaverse, because there is no physical limitation, as long as you have the smartphone, then you can take a look around. You can also have real life and the real-time encounters with the citizens and dialogue. So this would also be a participatory platform where we can also encourage real-time participation by the citizens. And because we are in avatar form, we can also have more horizontal and equal conversation. And now, in order to promote the market, I understand that you are also utilizing metaverse in your administration. So can you also explain a bit more about this? Yes, the avatar mayor and the avatar citizens can meet together in this metaverse. So we are also going to turn this into a citizen-centric platform. So we would be opening up the pilot space in December this year. So we would be providing information to the citizens, and we will also have communication with the citizens. It would also include some games for fun, and then also like we could have voting boxes to gather views from the citizens about certain issues.
So here I have a question. So with COVID, non-face-to-face meetings have grown, and even at schools and businesses, a lot of non-face-to-face meetings are taking place. So what is the contact point between metaverse and virtual meetings? And there was also a Second Life platform, which was a bit similar to metaverse, but if we compare the current platform and the existing platform, what are some commonalities and differences? Professor Che? So actually, virtual meetings are like this. Rather than being in a same physical space, we feel like we're just like watching each other's faces. But in metaverse, we feel like we're in a same physical space. So from the cognitive perspective, it gives us more immersion. And actually, during class at school, rather than going for virtual platform, if we have a class on metaverse platform, students' attendance rate is very high, and they come to school or come to class on time. So before COVID-19, there was like a virtual platform like Second Life, but there were not many people who used that platform. But nowadays, after smartphone, people play games a lot with smartphone and in the virtual platform, and people are very much used to having their avatars on virtual platforms. There are lots of users like that. So the metaverse allows people to interact and socialize and network, and this will become the norm going forward. And the future that we envision, or I envision, will also go towards this direction. Yes. So people are gathering in the same physical space, giving them a lot of immersion and solidarity. So I think that metaverse gives more benefits than just simple virtual platforms. So what is the background to metaverse taking boom? Yes, maybe we're not really aware of how metaverse works very close to our daily lives. So the related industry cycle has been set up and it's already under activation. And with COVID-19, of course, its impact was great, and we are moving towards a contactless society. And you can see that the metaverse adoption has become faster than ever before. And one thing to note is that a lot of MZ generations have great desire for new space. So virtual plus the new desire for space by MZ generations have led to the boom of metaverse. Yes, as Professor said in his special talk, so we are indeed experiencing a clash of civilizations. So in that case, what would the biggest transformation in terms of contactless society? As I said in my special talk, when we are experiencing digital transformation of our civilizations, but with COVID, digital transformation has accelerated more than 20 times. So in terms of education, in teleworking, and so forth, everything has transitioned into a contactless world. So the digital platform economy has grown considerably, and it is being fusioned with our civilization. So if that is the case, then in what specific areas will we see the digital platform economy being activated? And in Korea, would we have the opportunity to develop our economy into digital platform-based economy? So, Mr. Shin, as you may well know, e-commerce, finance, content, and mobility. So all of these components are very important to consumable goods industry in our daily lives. And we are seeing this kind of structural transformation taking place in these areas, including offline as well. So everything is moving towards accelerating omni-channel. So this trend is going to grow going forward. And the key digital platform providers representing Korea are entering the global markets. And that is why a lot of global companies are very much looking towards the K digital platform emergence. So based on digital platform, we'll be able to cater to the needs of the digital users. Simple, fast, and convenience are the key drivers of the digital platform services. That will be these three elements will be the key elements to success. Thank you very much. So in the time of digital transformation, how will the new generation respond is an important question that we need to discuss today. So let's now talk about the age of great transformation, digital transformation. With great digital transformation, we see a lot of changes taking place in different cities around the world. So me and I would like to share with you some of the findings of the 2021 Smart City Index, which is being conducted by Cambridge University. So this is the third time the index is being published, and the report actually includes 31 cities around the world, and they actually assess the digital readiness of 31 cities around the world. So three things from the findings. So including a metaverse, AI, and digital technologies. So the fourth industrial revolution leading technologies are actually being applied to projects, innovative projects in different cities. So you can see a high level of adoption. So you can see that the level has increased by 12% compared to last year. So urban data and the digital platform industry have become very mature. And the AI-based services have now entered the phase of maturity. And in terms of smart city, transportation is the biggest application area, and they represent about 32% of the entire digital services. And in terms of infra-based services, zero carbon cities are being developed, and there are lots of innovative projects that are taking place. So as such, a lot of cities around the world, as the main driver of their innovation, are adopting latest technologies, and a lot of test beds are being implemented to develop a relevant ecosystem. And one thing that we found is that, including Seoul, a lot of leading cities around the world are making a lot of efforts to bridge the digital divide, to develop digital safety net. Seoul, as well as some other leading cities, are trying to sophisticate their smart city system initially, actually, in order to help the digitally vulnerable and to increase digital literacy and to also increase the access to digital IT infrastructure. So it is in that regard they are making efforts to implement smart city. So this is the global situation, but I would like to also hear from other speakers. So maybe Professor Che. So each city, with the emergence of pandemic, their digitalization is accelerating, but so there have been a lot of changes taking place in our daily lives, post and pre-pandemic. Yes, indeed. A lot of cities after the pandemic have been doing hoard buying and they binge buying, but now this has subsided in a way because a lot of people actually went to online to buy things and they got everything delivered. So a lot of fear has subsided, and all of the citizens come to realize that digital is very useful, and there will be an increasing demand for inclusive services. So what's going to happen then? People will think like this. They will think like, we're living in the new digital continent. So for example, a lot of people are watching Netflix and OTT services, but usually when we think about watching something, we think about, TV broadcasting stations. But, like Squid Game has become viral around the world global, but now this is not being released in theaters. It's something that you can only see on Netflix. So, for example, they will also go for services that are only available at Amazon. The same goes for mobile banking. So, you can see that the new digital continent is emerging, and there are a lot of consumers who are crazy about these new digital continents. And this is also accentuated and highlighted by the Gen Z through metaverse. So if you want to prepare for the future, we have to really be keen on metaverse and new digital continent, which will be eventually centered on citizens. And it is based on this concept that we have to put forward proposal to develop future cities. So that will be the right path for us to take.
All right, yes, then the new digital civilization or the new standard civilization. So not easy, but then also, this roundtable is also being held in this space. So I believe that there would be a lot of new opportunities. Now, yes, and now I would like to ask Mr. Shim, so what do you think are going to be the changes in the future, and what is your outlook for the future related to this trend? Well, I agree with what the other two speakers have mentioned. So moving from the Stone Age to the Iron Age, and then from the agricultural society to the industrial society, then to the information society. So there have been paradigm shifts, and we are also seeing the same paradigm shift that is the harbinger of changes. So it's not just about the digital improvement or the digital innovation. We call this digital transformation because the changes that we're seeing are so vast. And then also the simple, fast, convenient. So the digital transformation and also the digital consumers ask for simple, fast, convenient. They take it for granted, which means that for the businesses, they cannot just gradually adopt digital means while maintaining the current structure or the current paradigm. So the businesses are also aware of this. So in terms of the business structure, their organization, they're also working very hard to transform themselves to keep abreast of the digitalization. So I believe that their success in the future will depend on how successful they are in adapting to the digitalization. Well, thank you very much. And also, Professor Che, you mentioned that the cities also have to keep up with the changes. And now, yes, Seoul is also trying to do that. But then what do you believe are some of the specific efforts to keep up with the changes? Yes, actually, yes, Seoul is being recognized as one of the world's leading IT cities. And so what we are seeing is that perhaps a sense of responsibility to play the leading role in becoming a smart city as well. So for example, big data or the Internet of Things or artificial intelligence. So based on these advanced technologies, we also need to create platforms based on connectivity. And we also need to make sure that the digital rights can be enjoyed by all. So we also have to make sure that no one will be left behind in this digital transformation. So we need to create a more inclusive digital society. Yes, so there are a lot of positive aspects of digitalization, but also negative aspects. So then under the COVID-19 and as we go through the digital transformation, what do you see are some of the issues or the challenges that are coming to the fore? Yes, there have been some issues that have been highlighted, but especially for the small merchants, the difficulties that they experience, and also the financial vulnerability of the MZ generation. So we see that as we go through the COVID-19 pandemic, these issues, these challenges have become more clearly delineated. And so perhaps maybe you can call this financial or economic resilience, but I do hope that their economic resilience can be heightened. So I believe that for that purpose, the city of Seoul also has to provide a lot of policy support. Now, Professor Choi, anything to add to this? I would say that the biggest issue related to the digitalization is about the people who are marginalized from digitalization and then those who are digitally savvy. In other words, a digital divide with a digital gap. So if we cannot reduce this gap, then we will be facing much bigger problems in this digital transformation. What do you think are the reasons or the causes of that? Well, now, in fact, whenever there is a civilizational transformation, something like this is bound to happen. For example, from the previous Joseon dynasty, when we moved on to the modern society, think about the kind of resistance that we had experienced at that time and also the type of issues that we had experienced at that time. So today, yes, we see the changes, especially brought on by the digital transformation. But if we can also embrace those who are at the risk of being left behind, I believe that it will increase the inclusivity of the society. Likewise, for the small merchants, if we can also make sure that they can benefit from the digital transformation. So if we can imagine and strive toward digitalization for all, then this will also create a better digital transformation. Yes, I see that there has been frequent mention of the gap or the divide. Then where do you believe? So which sectors have been the most adaptable to digitalization and which sectors have not been? So then perhaps from Bain and Company, you can let us know. Yes, when we look at the different sectors, the major sectors, then we can see some differences. So for example, under lockdowns or social distancing, we still needed to have essential purchasing. So for example, distribution or retail and financial transactions. So we see that the offline demand moved quickly on to the online world. So as Professor Che has mentioned earlier, we see that the digital transformation or the digital platforms are able to grow even more faster than expected thanks to this. And then now for the non-essentials. So I would say that for these non-essentials, and also for the sectors who are moving on to the mobile world, were not possible to begin with, then for these sectors, so unless we are truly out of the woods from COVID-19, it appears as if demand is not likely to recover fully. So for example, tourism or travel. So we would perhaps have to wait until COVID-19 is fully eliminated. Then perhaps I can look forward to recovery to the previous level. And then now, what do you believe are some of the causes of the gap in adaptability? Now, for those where the digital transformation adaptability is high, perhaps they have already completed their service transition, they have the capability. But then now for the tourism and also for the self-employment sector, oftentimes their business is based on face-to-face or contact services, and perhaps they were limited in adapting to the changes under COVID-19. Then also some of the certain groups in the society, for example, the elderly, they have less adaptability to the changes. So that means it is up to us to provide them with the kind of support or the policy to help them with the adaptation. Yes, I believe that then we also need to provide the kind of digital social safety net. And also, in terms of the digital adaptability, perhaps the gap will continue to grow. So what do you think about this? Well, as the vaccination rate continues to go up and as we also have the therapeutics roll out, then perhaps the medical aspect, the health aspect of COVID-19 will increasingly come under control. But then for the industries that are based on offline business, perhaps they can also look forward to recovery. But then again, the more digitally friendly consumers, there is a certain demand coming from them, but then for the businesses that are not able to respond to such demand, then it is likely that they will fall behind even after we move away from COVID-19. Then, do you think there are any solutions for us to prevent such a gap? Yes, that would be very important. We also need to make sure that whenever they take a fall, then they can stand up again. We call that resilience. So having resilience means that we need to first have the ability to adapt, and then also we need to have self-control and also a positive mindset. So that is what the psychologists say. So if we are to apply that to the society, then we need to provide support to those who are not digitally savvy, and we also need to address their sense of loss so that we will be able to maintain social solidarity. And I think about this in my school. So in the 1980s, 90s, there were difficulties in the farm, so we also had volunteer activities in the rural areas. Then perhaps today, not in the farms, but then in the cities even, for those who are not digitally savvy, then maybe the young people can do volunteer activities to help them. So then the young people can accumulate experience, and then the digitally marginalized can also enhance their digital capabilities. So perhaps we can also have such social projects.
Yes, thank you very much. So program for digitally vulnerable is something that is very important, and that should be the normal for Seoul City. And all of these efforts can start from very small projects. So Seoul is also making efforts or driving the effort to develop a digital city. So Mr. Park. So this is the vision house of Seoul City. So through the 2030 Seoul vision, we have envisioned the future for Seoul as a smart city, and we will also define relevant action plans and develop relevant systems, and also make sure that all of our efforts are implemented. Through digital familiarity, so digital centeredness is the key to the response to COVID pandemic. And I would like to know what is the future vision of Seoul City. Yes, what you're seeing right now is one of the examples of the collaboration between Seoul City and the Hyundai Motor Group, and they will actually develop a UAM solution by 2050. 2050. So in about 17 years, we'll be able to see this type of UAV solution. We'll be able to ride this type of equipment or vehicle. And I think that we'll also have some concrete plans launched by the end of this year. So going forward, Seoul City hope that we will transition into mobility innovation. Yes, thank you very much. So you are in charge of the smart city operations, and you also mentioned about the 2030 vision. So how do you envision the future of Seoul, including, those drone cities? So I think that we should have like an ultimate goal. So that is regarding hardware and software. We need to be able to combine these two elements to have soft power and develop the urban competitiveness. Going forward, would like to actually embrace, future emotions, and in developing our smart cities, we want to fusion emotions with technologies to develop our future smart cities. And it should be a city that fusions the capital and manpower, workforce. Yes, so I think that this emotional aspect is a very important aspect in developing smart cities, because the smart cities that we seek are human-centered and people-centered. And if we'll be able to implement this effort, so I heard that you are also preparing ambitiously for regarding relevant projects. So next year, we will launch metaverse-related projects. We want to develop Seoul Metaverse platform so that we can integrate e-government services and cultural and tourism services, as well as entertainment-related services. And Seoul City has a lot of historical buildings like palaces and museums. We want to implement all of these relevant services on Metaverse, so on this Seoul Metaverse platform. So that will be the focus of our project for next year. Yes, indeed, it seems like that Seoul will lead the efforts in developing metaverse, and I think that can serve as a great example for other cities around the world. And we also talk about hyperconnectivity and hyper augmentation and hyper immersion. So what kind of digital market can we envision through these digital platforms? Well, going forward, we expect to see high growth in augmented reality and also scalable reality and virtual reality. So we need to develop these areas in order for Seoul to become a leader in these areas. So it is very important to create new services for our citizens, and also in terms of the culture and economy, we have to leverage metaverse. And in order to do that, we have to develop a high performance metaverse related platform. So it seems like through metaverse, we'll be able to create a lot of opportunities for public-private partnership. And I think we have just begun our move towards the new digital continent. So what is something that the citizens should not miss in order for the metaverse platform to take hold? What are some important things to consider, Professor Che? Yes, we talk about AR, VR, metaverse, digital platform, and AI. So when we talk about all of these concepts, the seniors or the elderly may feel marginalized and isolated. That may be true because there is a huge intergenerational gap in Seoul. So people who are in their 20s, people who are in their 60s, they lived the Korea. And Korea was as poor as like the poorest African countries. And the young generations have not experienced that. And the young generations have lived through affluent years, and they are living in an advanced country like the Republic of Korea. So the thoughts, there is thoughts that exist, or thoughts divide that exists between the young generations and the old generations. So there is indeed this generational gap. So what should we do? Of course, we have to, interact more with one another, and that is the kind of mindset that we need to have. And what should we actually be focused more on? I think that the digital new continent will be the norm. So we have to be able to help each other between generations, interact with another, communicate with another. And if that happens, so we'll be able to create and develop a wonderful civilization that will surprise the world. So I think that this is the road for us to take. And I would like to ask everyone as a digital citizen to move together hand in hand. Yes, the digital new continent citizen, that sounds like a very interesting terminology. So metaverse-based efforts are also being made by industries and businesses. So what should they do? Mr. Shin? Yeah, listening to Professor Che, I'm very excited, very much excited for the future. Looking at the population and the economic power and the digital infrastructure level, as well as digital familiarity and digital pool and digital competitiveness of Seoul. So taking into consideration all of these elements, I believe that Seoul will become one of the biggest and most dynamic digital platforms around the world. So digital platform-based new innovative models will also of Seoul will provide Seoul with a lot of incubation opportunities of new businesses. So from the business's perspective, I think there will be a lot of opportunities and a lot of global players will look towards Seoul to get our help, to learn from us, and also to experience this new culture of digital new continent. So I believe that the Metaverse Seoul, in order for it to become a platform for citizens, what kind of efforts will Seoul make going forward? Mr. Park?
메타버스 서울을 활용한 여러 가지 행정 서비스
A lot of government services will be provided through Metaverse Seoul platform, and I also mentioned about a lot of cultural and tourism contents will be provided. And not only that, we have a Seoul Digital Foundation. So we're going to leverage the foundation to make sure that our citizens will come onto Metaphor to create spaces, create environment, and participate. So we're going to make Seoul City's Metaverse Citizens platform. So on this platform, citizens can create content and consume content. So they will be engaged in many different activities at all fronts. As it was mentioned several times, we will also cater to the needs of the elderly and the disabled because they are in digitally vulnerable groups. I would like to once again repeat that we will try to develop public services with high level of immersion based on metaverse in order to increase citizen satisfaction.
마치 저희가 이제 메타버스의 어떤 시민과 공공과 민간이 함께 할 수 있는 어떤
So then now, yes, in the metaverse, where the citizens and the public sector and everyone can get together, so it's like a moving bed, and I believe that perhaps we can play an important role in opening up the new digital continent. So today we have had a chance to discuss the vision of Seoul as the metaverse city in the future. And now, last but not least, we will be receiving some questions from the floor from those who are here as avatars. Now, because of the time constraint, we will take 2 questions. Yes, I would like to ask a question. Now, in the early 2000s, because of the dot-com bubble, so we had the dot-com bubble then. So perhaps the technological maturity today is perhaps not there. In other words, not enough to utilize metaverse yet. Now then, I would just like to ask the panelists whether you believe that there is a metaverse bubble today. And if yes, then what do we need to do in order to make up for it? So I believe that the question was about whether there is a metaverse bubble or metaverse gap, and then how do we need to improve this? And then also whether this is just an extension of the concept that was first embedded in Second Life. Now, I would like to first go to Mr. Shin for a response to this question. Yes, I partly agree with your question. And yes, for the metaverse-related projects and the businesses to keep developing and maturing, then we also need to have the hardware to back it up, including the devices. So as you have mentioned, so moving from the personal computers to the smartphones, now that has also led to an explosive growth in contents based on the mobile device. So then for the metaverse as well, I believe that the development in the hardware also has to be there. So like Google or Facebook, Microsoft, so these global techs are also heavily investing into this field as well. So then perhaps more affordable devices can be developed to be put into more everyday life, and then also the more advanced, sophisticated technologies can be developed, and also if we can have the technologies that would lessen the sense of fatigue on the eyes or your head or your brain, then I believe that that would go a long way toward boosting the metaverse. Right, so what we need is to have the kind of investment and development in the hardware to back up the development of the metaverse as well as the contents as well. Okay, thank you. And now why don't we take another question? Yes, hello. I would just like to ask my question in relation to education. So let's say if working from home were to become the norm, then what do you believe is going to be the type of education that would be the most necessary for the children who would be entering that life in the future? Yes, then since this is about education, why don't we ask Professor Che to respond to this? Yes, I did mention this in my talk earlier, but then now in absorbing the knowledge, all the methods of absorbing knowledge have changed in the new digital continent. So for the children, what they want to learn now, they know that it exists everywhere in their surrounding environment. So not just in school, but also in YouTube or in the internet. So the parents also have to be understanding about this. So the children will be learning from this. It's not about injecting new knowledge, but then it's more about taking the leadership, having self-led education. So in this case, the parents' role will be very important. So instead of saying, no, you should not be watching YouTube, but you can tell your children that let's try this together. Why don't we enter the metaverse together to learn new things? So we need to have this kind of wisdom from the parents. So instead of just rejecting whatever the children ask for, we have to be more accommodative of them. And also, if they are to work from home, this means that they can also stay home longer to take care of their children. Then they can also prepare better for the future together with their children. So especially if you're not an academically good student, so you study hard, but then you're not doing well, you're not getting good grades in school, but then at that time, then you can also ask your children about what they are really interested in. Then I think that this would also open up new opportunities for them. So we can also seek out role models for them. And I believe that by doing so, this will create a future where both the children and the parents can be happy. I hope to see that future really unfold. Yes, I believe that that would be very important for the parents to empathize with their children, and also learning by experience sounds to be more important in the future. So then, yes, perhaps you also need such parents and also such teachers in the future. Now then, with that, we have, unfortunately, come to the end of the Metaverse Roundtable, which marks the finale of the Smart City Week Leaders Forum. Now, in this roundtable, we got to learn about the smart city vision of Seoul, and also as we try to move into the future city, I believe that the opportunity is there for all of us to become the citizens of the smart city. Now, they say that next year marks the 530th anniversary of Columbus' discovery of America, and I believe that for us, the beginning is now, where we were all together. So I would like to thank everyone for joining us today. Thank you very much for your participation, and this is the end. Thank you.
네, 여러분 저희 마지막 순서였죠.
Yeah, so that was the last program of the day, Metaverse Talk. So how did you watch it? So the third dimensional virtual world is what Metaverse is all about. Of course, because of coronavirus, we cannot all meet with one another, but I'm sure that through the Metaverse Talk, you'll be able to have a vivid experience of all of the initiatives being taken by Seoul Metropolitan City. Once again, I would like to sincerely thank all our speakers and panelists for joining us today. So it is not a big fish that is strong, but the fastest fish that is strong. This was said by the fourth industrial revolution founder, the so-called founder, Mr. Klaus Schwab of World Economic Forum. So as you saw through the Seoul Smart City Week, with the digital transformation and across all societies, we are seeing the development of new norms. So against this backdrop, let's focus less on speed. Let's have a look around us to see if anyone is marginalized. I think that kind of efforts and measures need to be taken at this point in time. Thank you very much for joining us during long hours today. And once again, I would like to thank you. And with that, I would like to wrap up 2021 Seoul Smart Week City Week Leaders Forum. I hope to see all of you in good health with good content next year as well. Thank you very much and goodbye.